Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. Welcome in my partner, my best man, my guy, my dude, the dude, Adam Martin. Welcoming back for another episode of our preseason previews. We shall be doing these episodes throughout the preseason, off-season, preseason into the start of the regular season. But it's really only round the corner. Exciting times ahead, a fun season to come. We have all of our episodes on YouTube and on all podcast platforms as well. We have a couple of episodes out already, preseason previewing some divisions, so make sure you go check them out. But we're going to the NFC West on this occasion, and there's no better place to start with the reigning, defending, undisputed champions of the world, Super Bowl winners, the Seattle Seahawks, 14-3 season, knocking down the San Francisco 49ers, the LA Rams, the New England Patriots in San Francisco, the Seattle Seahawks. What a season they had last year. What a team. Great fun to watch. Revitalizing Sam Darnold's career. Well, the Minnesota Vikings might have done that, but enhancing the career of Sam Darnold. With a very, very good head coach in Mike Macdonald. Have lost their offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, to the Las Vegas Raiders. They have kept Englishman Aiden Durd as their defensive coordinator, though. So, flying the flag,
Yeah.
Super Bowl winner, flying the flag for the whole of NFL UK and the UK in its entirety. I don't think really there's been as much talk this offseason about the Seahawks season and their win. Considering it was a new Super Bowl team, not new Super Bowl team, the Seattle Seahawks have won it. They've won it in my tenure of being a fan as well. But in terms of a team that hasn't been in that limelight a lot in the last recent years, has had it previously. We all know Legion of Boom, Marshawn Lynch, Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll. We know the history. We know the stories. We know the legends. I don't feel like, though, they have had the due credit since they've won the Super Bowl.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, do you mean as in like they haven't been given enough sort of like credit or enough sort of people just haven't been talking about how good a win it was or how good a season it was?
I think it was just won and forgotten. And I think the Chiefs haven't had that in any of their Super Bowl wins. We carry on. We talk about them as, well, they're going to go back to back. They're going to go back to Super Bowl. Don't really see that in the media with the Seattle Seahawks. Don't see anyone really going at the minute in headlines, that is. This team's going back to Super Bowl. Is there to defend. And I don't know whether that's fair. I don't know whether that's fair. I can understand that they've lost key players. Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker being one. Star cornerback Tariq Woolen gone as well. Mastermind offensive coordinator of the Super Bowl win, Clint Kubiak. I can get they've had some things that have gone away, but to not really have much out there in the general media, or maybe just not on my timeline, not on my algorithm. Maybe I'm on the wrong wavelengths, but I just don't think it's really occurred to me that it's not really been talked about more.
So the one thing that I would say, and this is purely from a media-y writer point of view, I do wonder if there isn't really anybody on that team or in the coaching staff that is going to get headlines. And there's no like star name. Obviously, a lot of the time you go the quarterback. Sam Darnold's not really a starry name that's going to get you clicks on your article. I think we all like Jackson Smith and Jigba, but I wouldn't have him as like. I think although the talent is top, one of the top wide receivers in the league, I don't think he's necessarily one of the most talked about players in the league. As you say, Ken Walker's gone, but even Ken Walker isn't really that, is he? He wasn't really. That's what I feel like why they maybe haven't been spoken about as much. And then I think, and we'll come on to it later, I think a division mate may have blown them out of the water headlines wise.
My criticism would be that it doesn't appear from the movement they've made in this offseason that they're doubling down. And again, we're not to jump the gun with the team that we'll talk about in this division that made a significant move this offseason. And I think may have another significant move coming in the next month. You do have to have an element of riding the wave. And I think maybe they have not necessarily done that during this offseason. I don't think they've particularly reinforced. I don't think they've particularly done anything splashy, which you don't have to do anything splashy. I don't mean that. I don't particularly think that splashy moves are always the right moves. Again, sort of vaguely talking about a team we'll later talk about. But more for me, one of the head scratchy things is players like Tariq Woolen, letting him go, for example. I can get Ken Walker. I can get that. I'm just not sure that we talked about it in our episode regarding the AFC West rather than the NFC West, with the Chiefs losing Trent McDuffie, and then they went and drafted Mansour Delane. Like, they made a statement move. They made a big move, moving a big player away, but they made sure that they got that cover. And I'm not totally sure they've done that in the cornerback position for a player that is very good. And he joined a team that is in the Super Bowl bubble as well with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think maybe that's it. Maybe what is different about this team compared to the Chiefs teams that have won the Super Bowl, for example, is that consistency factor over these number of years. Is that we've seen these players be great for a long time. We've not seen Sam Darnold.
Him as well.
His brother. The other one played for the Jets and the Panthers. Sam Darnold plays for the Seattle Seahawks and the Minnesota Vikings and formerly of the San Francisco 49ers. We know his talent, though. Same with Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah,
we're not going to sit here and go Jackson Smith and Jigba is number one receiver in the league. Sam Darnold's number one quarterback in the league. I wouldn't even go as far to say as I like Ken Walker. I said it in a previous episode that I think he's very underrated, but I wouldn't say he's the number one running back in this league. So what was that tangible thing that made them so great last year? It was a lot of schemes. It was a lot of the coaching, and it was a lot of these players playing at a very high level. And the problem is that when there's movement and not adding and losing some of them guys and not having that history of bouncing back, apart from obviously when they went to the Super Bowl against the Patriots, we then I think are less inclined to really plant our flag, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that a lot of that is fair. I feel that you're maybe being slightly harsh on the replacements. They have kind of, my concern for them is that they've kind of replaced like for like, and they haven't really pushed on, I suppose, is the argument. I know that a lot of people could come out and go, Super Bowl champions, what do you need to push on for? But it's like you do. You just need to keep progressing all the time. They lost Boye Mafe, who, great. I think he's a really good edge rusher, so I felt that was a big loss for them. But they went out and they got Dante Fowler. So it's like, I'm not saying it's the same, but it's a replacement in that position. They lost Ken Walker. They drafted Jadarian Price. They really like Jadarian Price. I think he's got a lot of potential, but he's not necessarily win now, I suppose, is the argument, which is fair enough. They lost Kobe Bryant at the safety position. They went out and got Bud Clark. I think that he's a really good safety that's come from TCU. They drafted him in the second round, and that he's got potential to be not necessarily like top type of safety. And, obviously Kobe Bryant was really good for them. But I think that he has the potential to be able to do something. And then in corner, they went and got Julian Neal from Arkansas, the corner, in the 3rd round, who, again, was another one who we didn't have him as in the top guys at corner position, but we felt like he could be able to do a job. So I feel like what they've done is they've literally gone, we've lost this guy, let's get someone for that position. So I think they've replaced. I just feel like, and probably what your point is that they haven't replaced to the same level. But that's very, very difficult to do when you're picking at 32 in the 1st round. And it's a lot easier for a team like the Chiefs to do when they were picking, 11th or 12th and then traded up to 9 or something for Delane. I can't remember. But it was that kind of figure. And so I think it's tough to be able to do that. So I think they have covered the losses a little bit, but I think it's almost impossible to completely cover them. And what you might see here, the reason that there maybe isn't so much excitement, there isn't that Patrick Mahomes that is going to literally lift the whole team by himself and do it. It does feel very much like it's a group effort and everyone's going to sort of try and come together. And if you lose a couple of them pieces that were part of that group effort to really make the difference, it is going to be tough to be able to sort of come out and do the same again as what you did last year.
I think there's a difference between replacing and reinforcing. I think that's really why I'm coming from down to is I think good Super Bowl winners that then carry on in a great trajectory reinforce. They lose players. Don't get me wrong. They lose players. That happens. It's part of the parcel. But they reinforce. And I just don't think the players in this replacement scheme that you're pitching are, yes, they're not to the same level. And yes, that's very hard. But I don't see the reinforce here.
No.
But I'm very interested to see how they do. I'm incredibly fascinated by Jadarian Price, who may get a lot of meaningful snaps to open the season with Zach Charbonnet coming off of a pretty bad injury last year. I think we're still unsure whether he's going to be suiting up at the start of the season, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, from what I've seen, I don't think he will be for the very first week, but I think he should be back relatively soon into the season, so it's probably not too bad. I think their biggest problem is Clint Kubiak going, and they've brought in Brian Fleury, who was the tight ends coach and the run game coordinator at the 49ers. And, I'm not saying that he's going to be bad, but I think Clint Kubiak was just coming, he was doing very well, and I cannot remember for the life of me what coaching tree he came from, but it's one where you're starting to see things from that coaching tree now. And
his dad was a baller coach.
It wasn't oh god, where was it that he came from? He might have been with I can't remember if he was with the Shanahans, was he? Oh, okay, yeah. So he was at the 49ers in 2023 as the passing game coordinator. He was at the Vikings before that, which obviously Kevin O'Connell, and New Orleans Saints before the Seahawks. So yeah, he has come from the Shanahan system, and I think that again, it's just another product of that system where it's worked out quite well. Obviously, Brian Fleury has also come from the Shanahan system with him being at the 49ers for the last 3 years. So it'd be interesting to see if it works or not. Hopefully for Seahawks fans it does, but I think that might be the biggest problem for them. Also, really tough schedule, 5th hardest in the league. So it's going to be tough for them, I think, this year.
The LA Rams are next for us to talk about. 12-5, second place, qualified for the postseason last year. Got all the way to the NFC Championship, beat the Panthers 34-31, beat the Bears 20-17, lost to the Seahawks, who we just talked about, 31-27. I think there's no point really starting with anything more than wow in terms of their off-season moves and trades. The biggest move of the summer, the spring really, I suppose, was Myles Garrett being traded from the Cleveland Browns to the LA Rams, and going back there was Jared Verse, a first round pick, a 2028 second rounder, and a 2029 third rounder. And I suppose it doesn't get talked about, but we have talked about it in other episodes. But Trent McDuffie also being traded there for a first rounder, a fifth, and a sixth. And he came along with a 2027 third. Did trade away Kobe Durant as well. Wait, no, Kobe Durant was... Yeah,
no,
Kobe,
he was
sorry,
at the Seahawks.
I'm getting mixed up with Kobe Bryant from the Seahawks. That's why I'm getting mixed up with there. But two moves in the spring into the summer that have changed the trajectory of the NFL, it feels like. They had this. They've done this already. They went crazy with first already. They won a Super Bowl out of it. They then went, well, you need to calm down for a few years, retool, get younger, not have as many big contracts on the books, bring in Matt Stafford. That was one move they did as well within all of that. And then they've gone, right, we're in the great place again. Let's go and do it again. Worked last time. And, I mean, bringing in what will be, in some people's eyes, the best edge rusher of all time. Certified Hall of Famer, even though he's been to the playoffs probably, twice? Never touched the Super Bowl, never got near the Super Bowl. Does this, is it a little bit premature of most people to say that this team's going to the Super Bowl this season?
I mean, you have to have them down as favourites. You have to. There just isn't anyone else. Certainly on the NFC side, there just isn't anyone else that is close enough to them. Apart, I mean, probably the closest one to them is the Seahawks. And yet, you've got two teams there where, forget about the Trent McDuffie and Myles Garrett trade. Before that, it kind of felt like it was a pretty close run thing. Like the Seahawks got the win against them, but it was really tight. And every time they met up, it was sort of like really good, high scoring games where there was very little between them. Now that you throw Trent McDuffie and Myles Garrett into it as well, and actually Jalen Watson as well, who's also come from Kansas City to play corner there, it's very difficult to think that there's going to be anything other than the Rams winning it. And when you look at the other teams and you sort of think about, okay, who are the other teams that are around that could compete with them, it does feel like it's the teams in their division, as in the Seahawks and the 49ers. I mean, my Packers are not at this level all around. The Lions, offensively maybe, but defensively probably not. The Eagles, it kind of feels like they're probably due a better season, but do we think that they could go up against this lot? I don't know. Who else is left? That's what I mean. It kind of feels with the NFC side, it feels very little. So it kind of almost boils down to like, do you think a team like Denver could beat them in the Super Bowl? And I think that a team like Denver do have the possibility to do it. But when it comes to the Rams, I mean, where's the weakness? That's where it's kind of reached that point now where it's a little bit like, you look at their roster and you go, the O-line looks pretty good. and the wide receivers are decent. They don't really have a wide receiver 3. You've got, like, if you want to be picky about things, it's like Jordan Whittington is the wide receiver 3 there. You've got 2 good running backs. Matthew Stafford's come off an MVP season. They've got hundreds of tight ends for some reason, but they're all pretty decent. The defense is absolutely stacked. Where's the weakness?
I think you are a successful betting writer.
I
think that's fair to say. How much money should I bet on that this isn't the end of the reinforcing and the drama that we see in LA? Because I would put very good money that we are going to see Aaron Donald suit up for the LA Rams this year.
See, I was wondering where you were going with that, because that's the obvious one, but I did wonder if you were going to say a different player.
There's another player?
yeah, there is potentially another one that could go in there.
Who?
Well, there's a lot of talk about Vita Vea, isn't there, wanting to trade?
Well, I mean, Vita Vea going would be, is insane, but would be amazing. But I'm all about the narrative. I'm all about the storyline. And Aaron Donald, he's in their camp. Like, he's in camp. There's something. He's not in camp to teach. Absolutely no way. And you're telling me that he doesn't look at this and go like, "Oh, we're going to win the Super Bowl." Like, without me, they might. With me, I'll send them there myself. The best defensive tackle of all time, potentially one of the best one of the best edge rushers of all time. A fantastic cornerback. I mean, I have to see Aaron Donald in this team. I have to. Like that. It's not even like I want to. I have to. I have to see what this defensive front can bring and can do in the NFL, because it might be one of the ones in 20 years' time where we talk about like the Bears. It just might. Like we can't. I don't think it can be understated how good. And this is coming from someone who has hated Myles Garrett and seen him twice a year for a very long time, and have always said TJ Watt is better. Now he's out of my division. I'll say it. He's been the best edge rusher since he came into the league. He is that good. I think the only person that people honestly do talk about, and I think players, I see this a lot with players, maybe not media, but players especially. The one that I think always we forget about now being that great is JJ Watt.
Yeah.
And I think that they've talked about Myles Garrett like JJ Watt was talked about in that era. And he's that good. And Aaron Donald, as I said, for some people, best defensive lineman of all time, I think could be in the conversation. Absolute game wrecker, and did it on his own sometimes in some of them seasons. It's not a want, it's a need at this point. I need to see him suit back up.
I think it would be interesting to see what happens. I do worry that there is such a thing as too much, though, for them. I mean, Byron Young got 12 sacks last year. Kobe Turner got 7 sacks last year. You've now thrown Myles Garrett into it as well. You can't, like, the only concern I have for it is, like, are you going to start taking these guys out, like Byron Young or Kobe Turner? Are they not going to play as much because you're going to put Aaron Donald in, who hasn't played a snap in a few years? I'm not saying he's not, like, he doesn't look good, and I'm sure he's I'm sure he is capable, but it's just that thing where it's almost like you've got a really good team there, and there is a thing about potentially going overboard with stuff and creating problems that you don't necessarily need to create. But maybe they would be happy for him to come in and it would work, and who knows. But I feel like this team's pretty good, so they don't to a certain extent they don't need him.
One last word on the Rams before we move on, because it is more of your specialist subject, as I've said before in other podcasts with the college talent. 13th overall pick, they take Ty Simpson, quarterback out of Alabama. Heir apparent, or is this a project here?
I mean, you have to think that they obviously like the look of him, because they wouldn't have taken him in the first round, because I don't think there was any need. I don't think they had to. I think if they hadn't have taken him, he would have carried on falling. So I think it's entirely plausible that he could have been there in the middle of the second and they could have traded up for him. But they obviously like the look of him. They obviously think that he is the heir apparent and that he is the one, because it makes sense to get a guy in to take over from Matthew Stafford at some point. He is going to retire at some stage. So, then they're not going to be in a position to be, in a like at the top of the draft, are they, to get one of the main guys anytime soon with the amount of talent that they've got on this team. So it does feel like it's been done kind of as a bit of both, really. It's sort of like it is the heir apparent, but it's also to develop him. There's no rush for him to play. Obviously, Stafford's going to play all the time he's fit, so he can just sit. So it kind of feels a little bit like, if Stafford wants to play for 2 years, well, Simpson can just sit there for 2 years and develop behind him, kind of almost a bit like a Jordan Love situation with when Aaron Rodgers was there. So it kind of feels like that's a similar thing, which is no bad way of doing it. It's a good way to do it, and it's shown in the past with teams that have done that how well that's gone. So I didn't mind Simpson. I thought he was all right. I thought that he's clearly a pocket passer. He's not much of a runner. So Stafford is probably ideal as a teacher in that respect, and I think he's got the potential to do something in the NFL. I just think that what I saw during his college career was Mac Jones, and I just felt like that there's a limit to what you get with someone like Mac Jones. So it will be about whether they can develop him and sort of like make him better.
It certainly feels to me like there's direction with that. I think there's intention and direction, which is something that my Steelers were lacking at the end of Ben Roethlisberger's career. Really, was that direction to know that it's going to move on all someday, and that the Rams seem to have worked out something where they go. And also, I think you're right in that sense of with being that high up in the draft. When are they going to be up there again? Maybe we should just pull the trigger while we're up here. And I mean, my last question, which is a rhetorical one, is if they go and use a first to go and get Vita Vea, how are they going to have enough first to go and get Joe Burrow if it falls apart in Cincinnati? That would be my only question and query. But as I said, rhetorical. San Francisco 49ers next up for us in our headlights. 12-5, third place in the division, qualified for the playoffs as well. They beat the Philadelphia Eagles 23-19, and then got pounded by the Seattle Seahawks 41-6, going out of the divisional round. I struggle to really hold on to what this team is going to be every year, because I just think it's just going to be good. It's just going to be good and don't get injured. And we've sort of had this with one or two teams already where it feels a bit Groundhog Day. My Steelers being one of them in our AFC North episode, where I just think I feel the same way about the 49ers every offseason. Yes, they've lost Robert Saleh. He's now the head coach at the Tennessee Titans. Have brought in Raheem Morris, who I feel like has been there before.
Yeah.
Or maybe, yes, he has been there before.
Yeah.
So they have got someone in who knows the building, knows the system, knows the team, knows the coaching staff, knows the players. If it was a short time ago, I can't remember the top of the head when it was, but he was there last. Not loads of moves. Some good moves, though. Mike Evans being signed from Tampa. Christian Kirk being signed from Jacksonville. He was at Jacksonville last, wasn't he? That was That's right. No, the
No,
Texans.
he was at the Texans, wasn't he?
Yes, yes. So I
Yeah.
was about to say Cardinals. We started at the Cardinals, went to the Jags, went to the Texans. That was it. For me, two older guys. Obviously, we've now lost Ricky Pearsall for the year through injury. That's happened in the last few weeks, hasn't it? That's a recent
Yeah,
thing.
that was last week, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That he went down injured.
So already again, the head starts to scratch with the injuries. Obviously, I said obviously twice there, but it's not his fault. It's not Ricky Pearsall's fault. But this team does get injured. It has off seasons where everyone seems to get injured and they can't all stay fit and healthy. And they seem to still claw their way to the playoffs somehow, some years. And I just think it's back to business. It's just always with this 49ers team under Shanahan, it's just back to business. It's keep everyone fit, play at a good level, and we'll be there. And we'll be sniffing there. We'll be around. It's just unfortunate now, but I think they've done that in history. And Seattle have been trudging behind. Whereas Seattle now, in terms of last season, sit on top of the mountain with the Rams very close to the peak as well. And the 49ers now, not the bridesmaid, never the bride, and sort of further down the line of the bridal party, really, aren't they? Bless them. They're still in the bridal party, unlike Arizona, who only got an invite to the night gig.
Yeah, I think this team is desperately clinging on though. To that, I think they'll win a certain amount of games and they will do okay. But I don't think they're the Seattle Seahawks and I don't think they're the Rams at all. I think both of them teams will beat them comfortably. This team is getting and for some reason has decided to get even older than what they were. And I think that this is going to be a big issue for them, for a team that is incredibly injury prone anyway, to then go out and get yourself Mike Evans, 32 years old, missed 9 games last season. I know that he's been all right for a lot of his career, but he's on the back end of his career. They've now gone and got Deebo Samuel, who is getting towards the end of his career. Christian Kirk, I think, is 29, 30 maybe. He's getting on a bit. George Kittle is getting older. Christian McCaffrey is getting older. They've all had injuries. Everyone on this offense is just incredibly old. And it's a little bit, there are bits on the defense as well. Nick Bosa's coming off of an ACL injury. Dre Greenlaw has been in Denver for the last couple of years. It kind of felt like Denver, it's almost like the 49ers had him for a long time and he did really well. And then Denver got him to try and push him over, but then they worked out he got too old. And now he's back. Fred Warner's getting older. It's like there are some young players, of course there are. But there is a lot of older players here. And the older your roster is in general, the more chance that they're going to get injured. And that's just a massive problem. And it just kind of feels like they've just slowly been going down this route. And I think a lot of this comes down to roster management and drafting and just drafting some weird players that no one really saw coming as to why you drafted them and when you drafted them.
Is that referring to this draft just gone?
I think it's referring to this draft and it's referring to the previous, I don't know, 3 or 4 drafts where it feels like they just make odd decisions. Do you remember everyone used to come out and say that, Bill Belichick and the Patriots, they'd do their own thing. No one sort of understood. And we had that whole thing, didn't we, with the Rams when they only had a 3rd round pick and they thought, we might got this guy. And the Patriots took him in the 1st round and everyone was like, who the hell? It's like, and It feels like the 49ers, a lot of their issues comes down to this, and they miss so much on draft picks. I mean, the quarterback itself, that year when they took Brock Purdy as a 7th round pick, they took Trey Lance as the 3rd overall pick that year and traded loads to get him. And it's just like, it feels like they're just hanging on with some of these stars. You know, the offense is hanging on because of Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle as well. I mean, I know he missed a bit last year, but he's normally pretty good. Trent Williams, they're hanging on. They still haven't really replaced the left tackle. Trent Williams, who's been there forever. And it's just like, eventually it's going to catch up with them. And I feel like this might be the year that it does catch up with them, because you just can't keep going down this way.
And it begs the question, when you're going down this older route, Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, you take DeJourn Stribling, wide receiver out of Ole Miss in the 2nd round. Where does he play? When's he going to play? Yeah, you take Romello Height, the edge out of Texas Tech. I think he'll get some minutes. I think he will. Kalen Black, running back out of Indiana. He's not going to start with Christian McCaffrey. Maybe he's the heir apparent. I don't know. But, you know, Stribling must have been so excited being drafted by the San Francisco 49ers, going to a winning franchise, going to a historic franchise, only to have, okay, Pearsall's gone down, but to have Deebo Samuel in front of you, Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, Kittle, like you said. I mean, even their backup tight end, is it Tonges? Tonges?
Yeah.
Tonges, they call him, I think. It looks like Tongs, but it's Tonges, isn't it? But he's going to be buried on the pecking order. Like, when are they going to get any time? And I completely agree. I echo all your sentiment with this. It's this one more year mentality, isn't it? One more year.
Yeah.
We can just get one more year, and it's not moving off of them quick enough. I don't. Some people will say, you know, how can you move off Christian McCaffrey? How can you move off George Kittle? How can you move off Fred Warner? Look around the league. There's some teams that happily do, and they will.
But you don't have to move off of all of them. That's the point. There's nothing wrong with having Christian McCaffrey there. There's nothing wrong with having George Kittle or Fred Warner there. But the problem is that you are doing it with everybody. And also, it's not so much that you're doing it with everybody, but you're actually bringing in ones as well. So the idea of bringing in Mike Evans at the age of 32 is that's like, it's a 1 year, 2 year play, probably, is what you're thinking of. So you sort of think to yourself, okay, so the only reason you're doing that is because you think you can win. Like, you're not doing it for any other reason. You think you can win, and you think you can win now. But when you look at this team and you just go, the names make it feel like they can be really, really good. But when you just look at them and you just think of all the previous injuries that they've all had, and you just sort of think, can they hold up for a whole season? All of them, because you need all of them in order to work. And if you start losing a couple of them, it all just fades away.
Before we move on to our final team that we're going to talk about in the NFC West, we must remind you that this episode is brought to you by Pitch Magazine. In the next edition, it is all about the Super Bowl. The thread running through that is all about Texas. And they've got an extended look at how and why the Dallas Cowboys became a global super brand. Issue 17 is now available online. Make sure you pre-order it. Use the discount code FTAG20. FTAG20 to get 20% off. You can go over to their website, www.pitch-mag.co.uk. Use code FTAG20, get 20% off of your issue today. Fantastic publication, really great people over there. Make sure you go and get your magazine today. Finally, the Arizona Cardinals, 3-14 last season, missed out on the playoffs. New head coach in town, Mike LaFleur, formerly the defensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Rams. I think the Arizona Cardinals have fallen a little bit into the last few years is they start their season looking at a pair of dice and they roll it and they hope they get 12. And I just don't think double sixes will show up for them unless they get some stability here. I like some of their players. I really like some of their players. Trey McBride, marvelous player, marvelous tight end, maybe the best tight end in the league. I could definitely talk about him in the top 5. Mr. 99 Madden rating. Do you know about this? Over his overall? Do you know all about Madden the game?
I don't know.
You're not a gamer. You don't play any video games every now and then. Not even
No.
You strike me as a Tetris guy. To be fair,
I'm a bit old for that sort of behaviour now. I'm afraid I gave up on the old PlayStation stuff quite some time ago.
Not Game Boy. Not going to Tetris.
No.
I remember my granddad had a grey Game Boy, which was pretty big. It was like the size of like a maths calculator, but like thick as well. And all he played on that was black and white Tetris. All it was Tetris, and that was the first sort of game, but the first handheld game I ever remember.
I feel this is describing how enthused you are about the Arizona Cardinals quite well.
I just think that we just can't trust anything. We just can't trust anything. New head coach once again, rolling the dice once again. Jacoby Brissett isn't the quarterback for their future. They know that. So they're waiting. Marvin Harrison came out with so much hype. And I'm not saying that he's not worth the hype. I think he still could be a marvelous wide receiver in this league. But he needs what all players need is a bit of stability, a bit of teaching, a bit of wisdom, and a bit of just nothing crazy. And then we can start winning some games, Now, unfortunately, the Cardinals have ran out of a little bit of luck in terms of their division. The Rams, great for years now. The Seahawks, consistently pretty okay, but now into that great region. 49ers, great for years now. The Cardinals have not seen bright days for a long time. I mean, when Kyler came through the door, it felt like there may be something good going on here. He had some good games, some momentous wins. I mean, the big one against Buffalo, the Hail Mary, that really sticks out in my mind as a memory of them beating Josh Allen's Buffalo Bills. But I think even with the drafting of Jeremiah Love at 3 from Notre Dame, who's going to be is coming in with Ashton Genty level hype, and deservedly so. We can't get excited. We feel like we can't get excited because Marvin Harrison came out with that same hype, and it's not really, we're not really seeing much from him in Arizona. It's the same with Jeremiah Love. I hold my tongue a little bit on things like Rookie of the Year, and it's going to be amazing when we just have no stability within this franchise. We don't know the direction of them yet. And I'm not sure what the direction is just yet. I'm hoping that LaFleur does well. I think it'll be a good opportunity for him to do that. Real good opportunity for him to make his mark. But I thought that same thing about Jonathan Gannon and didn't make the mark, did he?
No, I think one of the biggest problems, I think, with the Cardinals is that they, especially when it comes to drafting, they're very keen on going out and getting quite big name, flashy attacking pieces. But there's no real depth behind what they do. And there's no real sort of, let's get the O-line guy, let's get the D-line guy that's really going to make a difference. What they do is they go, let's spend the 3rd, 4th overall pick on Jeremiah Love, when you could argue that is a running back desperately what they need now at this moment? Is that, I mean, I'm not saying that running backs aren't vital, but you've just gone out and bought Tyler Algier for quite a bit of money. You've still got James Conner. You've got Trey Benson, who's only in his 3rd year there. Do you really need to go and get Jeremiah Love? They spent quite high in the draft when they went and got Trey McBride in the second round. Marvin Harrison was a first round pick and was like all the hype around him, and he was very high. I'm not saying that you don't go out and get good players, and obviously because you're at the top of the draft, it does kind of make sense that you get the best players that are there. But sometimes you do just sort of think to yourself, maybe if you invested a little bit more in the O-line, it might help your run game. And you might not necessarily need to have a Jeremiah Love, as in like that higher pick. So I think that really there's just a lack of thought behind it. And I feel like the reason that teams like, I mean, I can only really do it like on the Packers and stuff like that, who always go O-line, D-line, but there's quite a few teams that always go O-line, D-line. The Ravens are quite a well-known one. They're usually pretty good teams that have been consistent for a very long time, and it's because they get good O and D-line guys. And I just don't feel like that. I don't feel like that happens with the Cardinals, and it is all a bit chaotic, and they do just sort of like go for the new shiny toy in the hope that that will make the difference. And it's funny because they're going to have Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride, Jeremiah Love as, you know, as their attack. And like you say, they're probably going to win 3 or 4 games. And it's just, doesn't it just go to show that it doesn't work?
Especially when you've not got the quarterback right. And I'm not saying the head coach is wrong. I'm not saying that, but we don't know if it's right yet. We can't say it is. We don't know. We have no proof of that just yet. There's some good players. There's a lot of players on the team that I like. I really enjoy players like Budda Baker. Great player. Really, really, really like him. And I like their offensive talent, like you said. But yeah, you missed out the Philadelphia Eagles. Is one team who
of course, another one who's O-line, D-line.
Yeah, and making some boring picks is good for you. Sometimes it's good for you. We won't say tank because it's just unpopular, isn't it? But let's just say, do you think there is one eye towards that 2027 quarterback draft class and being in a position
I mean,
to go and get someone in that? I mean, they took Carson Beck in the 3rd round.
Yeah. So I think the plan is probably they've paid Jacoby Brissett, haven't they? I think the idea is that the Jacoby Brissett will start, but at some stage during this season, they're going to have to put Carson Beck out there and see what they've got with him. I think that's what the plan's going to be. If they feel like if Carson Beck comes out and he's amazing, which I cannot see happening personally from what I saw of his tape. I know people were going, oh, he was amazing in the Hall of Fame game, but who cares kind of thing. But from the tape that I saw of him in college, I don't see him suddenly becoming this amazing quarterback. I think he'll be okay. I think he's probably capable. He's probably a backup, to be brutally honest. That's probably where he is, and that's fine. But I think Brissett will start. They'll probably have a reasonably good offense under him, but then they'll still lose games because the defense isn't really that great. And Carson Beck will come in here, play a few games. He probably won't really get them much further, and they'll probably have a top 4 pick next year, which will get them one of the better quarterbacks coming out in a strong quarterback class next year. So I think that feels like an obvious thing. There's a few teams I think that are probably thinking the same thing, and they're going to do that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's it with them, really. I don't think there's much else. There is some players, like you say, the likes of Budda Baker. We like Will Johnson at cornerback when he came out of college. We thought he might do all right. Of course, the mighty Roy Lopez is playing for them this year.
We can't talk about Arizona Cardinals without talking about Roy Lopez.
Exactly.
If you know.
The mighty nose tackle. The mighty nose tackle is back. Yeah.
Exactly. If you know, you know. For any viewers or listeners, you go check out Roy Lopez, legend of the show.
Exactly. So, yeah, don't expect too much from them. I think they'll be lucky if they get 3 or 4 wins. But I think the offense might show a little bit. You know, I think McBride will probably have another good season. I hope that Marvin Harrison sort of improves a bit, but I don't know. With the, like you say, it just kind of feels a bit all over the joint.
I think this is probably. I think this is an easy to predict division for me. Cardinals at the bottom, San Francisco in third, Seattle in second, LA at the top. I think the question more comes is, are we going to see what we've seen historically? Well, I say in the recent history of, let's say the Rams get 14 wins, let's say the Seahawks get 13 wins, and the 49ers get 12 or 11 wins. Do you think there'll be 3 double-digit win teams in this division? And if so, do all 3 of them go to the playoffs?
I think the Rams and Seahawks are definite. The 49ers, I think a lot of this is going to depend on injuries, of which I think that they will end up getting quite a few of them injured just because they are a bit older and a bit more banged up. I think if they do make double digits, it'll be 10. I don't think it'll be any more than that. And I don't think they'll get in the playoffs because of it. I think the NFC North will have 3 teams that get in.
So you're the exact same positions as me then?
Yeah. Same. Oh, yeah, same positions. I just don't think that the 49ers will. I think the 49ers will fall short when it comes to the playoffs.
Do you agree with the sentiment that maybe Seattle and LA, it might be a win between them, or do you think it might be?
Yeah, I do. I mean, look, the Rams are going to lose some games. Obviously, they're not. I'd be very surprised if they went 17-0. I just don't think that's doable anymore. No matter how good your team is, I think you're always going to have an off day, or someone's going to get injured, or something's going to happen to you. So I think that they probably will lose 2 or 3 games across the season, and actually their schedule isn't particularly easy either. They've got one of the hardest ones. So I think because of that I think something like 14 is about right. And the Seahawks, I just think that they are, although they might not have sort of moved on and got better, I feel like they're still going to be a very good team that's going to be quite close. So yeah, I think that only like 1 game between them is probably pretty fair.
Adam, thank you very much for joining me on this episode of our preseason preview, looking at the NFC West. Plenty more episodes are out right now. Yes, right now for you to go and watch on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe when you are there, or to listen on most podcast platforms. Many more preseason previews to come. Lots of fun doing these. Hopefully there'll be 3 of us next week when we return to do a few more of the fun ones for you. Make sure you check us out on social media. Make sure you give us a follow there and like our social media posts. It's much appreciated. Again, Pitch Magazine, go over to their website, use code FTAG20 to get 20% off of issue 17 today. Until then, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We'll see you all again very soon.